right. So you, as the Road Transport Safety Agency, have guided operators of the online car hailing services not to register and permit transport operators. Now, this is something that has been going on for a while. People using privately owned vehicles that are not in compliance with the Road Traffic Act on this particular issue, but they've been doing this. So what now has prompted this cautioning to these car hailing operators? What has prompted this to happen now?
Okay, thank you very much. Before we go into answering the question at hand, allow me on behalf of the Road Transport and Safety Agency Board, management and staff to join the rest of the country as we commemorate the first anniversary in terms of the memorial for our late first President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda. May his soul rest in peace. Coming to your question, of course, Zambia, like many other countries around the world, has come to experience the advent of online car hailing services operations in the transport industry. You might understand that online car hailing operations, although seemingly a new phenomenon in Zambia, has been in existence in other parts of the world. And the concept uses an internet-based application to link transport services providers, mostly taxis, to clients. However, we should note that there is currently lack of suitable regulatory framework to support such operations in Zambia. It is against this background that the Road Transport and Safety Agency had to issue a public notice to bring to the fore the current state of affairs and to define the problem, that there is a problem in terms of a regulatory framework. Therefore, the issuance of this public notice was part of the process of defining the problem and providing a suitable environment where we are going to advance the development of a statutory instrument that will provide a regulatory regime in terms of supporting operation of these online car or taxi services. Therefore, the good news is that the Road Transport and Safety Agency, under the auspice of the Ministry of Transport and Logistics, has made progress in developing a statutory instrument on online taxi operations to provide a legal framework or regulatory regime that will accommodate those types of operations. And let me mention that members of the public should not be very worried. Of course, there's a problem at hand because the current provisions of the law do not support this new phenomenon that had come on for. You might understand that the current law that we are using, the Road Traffic Act, was developed in 2002, and by that time, such ways of operating were not taken into consideration. And therefore, as a process of correcting the situation, we had to issue that public notice to define the problem and indicate that now we have the favorable conditions to operate this business in Zambia by putting in place a statutory instrument. So some of the silent features of the proposed statutory instrument is on providing modalities to allow online taxi operations to legally operate with flexible terms and conditions, such as exempting them from certain requirements of public service vehicles. And these may include exempting the following conditions. One, the fixing of red number plates and ribbons. This is what the proposed SI will be looking at, that we can allow these online taxis operate outside the provisions of the current law by proposing a new law which will allow them to operate but not affix a red number plate and the ribbons. Secondly, there is an issue of a driving license, because currently they are supposed to have a PSD driving license. So the new statutory instrument looks at them having an ordinary driving license, say with experience of 2 years. However, we will interrogate how we handle this matter further during consultative processes that we're going to have in the development of this statutory instrument. One way is exempting vehicle operators, in terms of drivers, to operate within a certain radius, maybe CBD, or just, for instance, in Lusaka, for those that are having ordinary ordinary licenses with more than 2 years of experience, and those that are applying inter-district or inter-town routes should have the PSV driving licenses. So that is the direction that we are taking. However, it will be a requirement, even as we put on a new statutory instrument, for them to just pay a road service license at a minimum fee to be prescribed in the statutory instrument. Currently, the payment or the fee is about 173 kwacha. So let me put it in black and white that the idea or the approach to issue that public notice was to bring to the fore the problem at hand as we start the process of curing the problem that is at hand. So the good news is that the agency, working together with the Ministry of Transport and Logistics, are putting in place a statutory instrument that will provide a legal framework for such operations to take place in our country.
Mr. Mubanga, a deadline has been given as to when these operators, these taxi operators, need to legally do these things. And I would like to find out how exactly the Road Transport and Safety Agency will be monitoring or detecting these vehicles that are unregistered to operate in this regard. And I ask this question because not so long ago we also saw what was discovered by yourselves alongside the Zambia Revenue Authority of the 30,000 vehicles that were facing irregularities. Just help us understand how exactly you'll be able to monitor and detect a situation like this, also taking into consideration the vehicles that have issues with the ZRA and yourselves, the Road Transport and Safety Agency.
Okay, I would not talk much on the issues to do with the vehicles that were allegedly announced to have not having matching records between the two systems, Rtsa and ZRA, as this matter is under extensive investigations, and the findings, of course, will be communicated accordingly to give a proper position on what really transpired on this matter. Of course, the two systems will be interrogated, ZRA and Rtsa, by a separate interested institution to give the correct position going forward. However, coming to the topic at hand, I mentioned this is a part of the process that we are taking in terms of bringing in a new statutory instrument. Whilst we have given that deadline, we want members of the public that are in this business to understand the provisions of the law. So whilst we are in the background, of course, let me hasten to say that we have been engaging players in this sector, talk about Ulendo, Yangu, and others, Zamcab, among others. We have been having meetings in the background, and we have identified that there's a problem that we need to collectively tackle as stakeholders. And that's the direction that we are taking. Yes, a deadline has been given, but in the background, the Rtsa is equally trying to do something to ensure that laws that support the thriving of this important enterprise, which is putting some money into the hands of the citizens of Zambia, is supported. But whilst on the other hand, we also have a certain formal sector that is paying for this RSL that we also need to address their concerns, because they pay for this road service license and they are fighting for the same customers and the same, they are in the same business, but the other is formal and the other is not formal, they are informal.